I begin?
Sahana bhavatu, sahano bhunaktu, saha viryam karavavahai, tejasvi navadhitamastu, ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. This prayer comes from the Vedas, and it means that may we, that is, the listeners and the speaker, be at peace, and may our love for each other remain steady. So it's a wonderful prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu. So, yes, Sri Rajat Agrawal ji,
Thank you so
I
much.
was invited by the Dean and contacted by the director, Mr. Pawan Singh ji.
Yes,
I've known
sir.
him for quite some time. Since 2009, I know him. And in those days, I used to go to IIM Indore to take a simple course, small course on Indian values in management at IIM Indore to EPGP students, executive
Right.
MBA. And so I was, just a second, sir.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
thank my computer man. He did something from there. So I was given this topic, aligning professional goals with higher purpose of life. So it's wonderful.
Correct.
So nice.
So if you'll allow me, I'll introduce you to the batch.
Yes,
We'll just take a minute.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Swami, sir.
We have a lot of time. I was told that I
Correct.
can speak till 5. And
Correct.
dear listeners, I mean students and faculty members and members of management, you are welcome to ask me any question. It just is an open house and most welcome to ask. You can ask anything based on the topic itself. You can ask based on my talk, or you can go outside and I'll give you my email ID. If you want to contact me later, you can contact me. And I have my footprints in the cyber world is pretty deep. You can find me everywhere in the cyber world. Yes, Rajatji.
Thank you so much, sir. Good afternoon to one and all. Welcome to this session of aligning professional goals with higher purpose of life. Today we have Swami Samarpanananda, a monk of the Ramakrishna Mutt and Ramakrishna Mission for the last 40 years. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing us with your presence. We are glad to have you with us on the Zoom meeting. We are looking forward to an insightful session, and I'll hand over to the stage to you now, sir. You can go ahead and begin the session.
Yes. And now, before I begin, I thanked Sri Deepak ji, who is the dean, and Sri Pavan Kumar Singh ji, who is the director. And it's a wonderful privilege, and I wish I could have gone there directly, I mean physically, and I could have talked to you face to face. But now with this e-learning program going on everywhere, we have to be happy with whatever is there. Now, in case, dear listeners, you have any question on this topic, you can say in the beginning so that I can mold my talk accordingly. Otherwise, I will go ahead with my talk.
So you can begin the session. We'll take the question and answer at the end of it.
No, I will take question. No problem. Sometimes it so happens that people have certain questions and they want they're bubbling within. They want it to come out. In case you never know. People do have. Hey, I can see only two faces: Shilpa Joseph and Tanvi Sanjgiri. I can't see other faces. So in case any one of you, most welcome. So
ask a question if you have any question. Otherwise, sir will begin the session.
Yes. Okay, I begin. So dear audience, dear students and faculty members, in case any question comes to your mind, so you can note it down now that I have been asked to start. And now the subject given to me is aligning professional goals with higher purpose of life. Now, before I really get into the subject, let me just explain one very simple thing. And instead of getting into higher values and professional growth, etc., I'll have to tell you a bit about history of Western philosophy. That will make things very clear to you. History of Western philosophy. Those of you who have some background in philosophy or maybe in history will know that the Western philosophy as we know today, although it must have been pretty old because Egyptians and other Western countries must have had some kind of philosophy. But every time we talk of Western philosophy, we think of Greek philosophers. And in Greek philosophy, there were truly hundreds of philosophers. They were great ones. However, finally, all these great philosophies of the Western world was kind of distilled in two clear streams. And that was Plato and Aristotle, the two very well-known names, Plato and Aristotle. In very simple words, I mean, it's very unfair of any speaker or any teacher to put a deep subject in a simplistic way. However, Plato is more of a subjective philosopher where the role of me becomes very important. But his disciple, Aristotle, he was more into the objective world where he believed in the objective reality. So when I have this pen, how true is this pen? Plato played a very important role, he paid a lot of stress on the subjective element, I element, whereas Aristotle placed a lot of stress on the pain itself. Actually, very surprisingly, this subjective-objective duality, we have these two, subjective-objective. This we have in India too. And the great Shankaracharya, the greatest intellect that India has ever seen, Shankaracharya, when he began his commentary on Brahma Sutra, which is a very famous work on Vedanta, he begins with this sentence, Yusmad Asmat Pratyaya. So this idea in the mind, whenever we perceive something, the cognition, it always have two, subjective, objective, I and you. How I and you are connected? Now, this is a much debated point. And later when we had great thinkers, which included Spinoza and Hegel and Kant, and even today, this battle is going on, subjective, objective. Now, if that was not enough, if subjective, objective was not enough, we had from Christian side, it actually came from the Christian side, more than Christian, actually, it is from Judaism, and sometimes philosophers call it Abrahamic viewpoint, because Islam, Christianity, they owe a lot to Old Testament. And when you look at Old Testament, you find that there is God and here is this world. Ultimately, subjective objective duality continues. And then came a very famous philosopher, Rene Descartes. All of you know about Descartes through cartography. Like when you plot graph, the concept of graph, where you have x-axis and y-axis, this was developed by Rene Descartes. That's why it's known as cartography, and map and everything became cartography. So Descartes came up with a wonderful explanation. He came with that x-axis and y-axis. Of course, he has many more contributions, but this came to be known as Cartesian Divide. Now, dear listeners, this is a very important expression. If you remember this expression, simple expression, Cartesian Divide, this itself will clear lots of problems in your life. Cartesian Divide. According to Cartesian Divide, you have this duality. Whatever the duality, let's call it subjectivity, objectivity. Let us call it God and world. Let us call it world and spirit, mind and matter. You come down to Hegel, you have thesis and antithesis. Hey, you come to your Marxism, and you have proletariat and bourgeois. Everything can be placed on x-axis, y-axis. And it was really such a wonderful explosion of idea. And it was grand. It was majestic. So suddenly everything could be placed. Everything could be placed on x-axis and y-axis. And those of you who have a very rudimentary exposure to mathematics, maybe in class 8, 9, I don't really remember, probably in class 9, where you were introduced to graph, x-axis and y-axis, and you know that to find a particular point, supposing there is a straight line, it can very easily be expressed by a simple equation y equal to mx plus c. You would be knowing in class 9, these things are taught in class 9. I remember it so well, not because I had studied, but because I've been into teaching profession now as a monk for the last 40 years. I became a monk when I was hardly 20, and I'm a monk since then. When I was 20, now I'm 62. So more than 40 years I'm a monk of the Ramakrishna Mission. And I have spent nearly 30 years of that monastic life in educational institutions. So some of these things I remember. So whatever number you have, you can put it on a graph and connect it with y-axis, x-axis. But this created an additional problem, and it's a very, very, very serious problem. And it has been bogging us down like anything from the time of Descartes. Because before Descartes, people used to kind of swing. Somehow, Descartes said that no, it's all duality. It's Cartesian duality, x-axis, y-axis. And suddenly, God became permanently removed from us, because God was on y-axis and we were on the x and he was on the y. Same happened with consciousness and matter. Nowadays, those of you who are a little in studying would know that a lot of studies on consciousness is going on. The Western world, of course, does not understand what exactly consciousness is, but they are trying to explain. That's wonderful. That's beauty of Western science. They explain things without understanding the core. So they really don't know what they mean by consciousness, and yet they are trying to explain. However, the problem remains that there is consciousness and there is matter. Same x-axis, y-axis. Because, as I pointed out, this stems partly from the conflict between Plato and Aristotle, the two great minds of the Western world. And then it comes partly from Old Testament, where God created this universe. And when God created the universe, the philosophers continued with the battle whether God is immanent or transcendent. And it makes such a wonderful read when you read these philosophers of 14th, 15th, 16th century, how they have been trying to talk about subjectivism, objectivism, realism, things like that. India was no exception. India also had this problem, but as far as Cartesian divide is concerned, we will be going back to this Cartesian divide many times during our discussion, because that makes things really easy for us. Although Descartes created lots of problems for us, but he also made things very simple for us. Now, today, most of the problems that we have in this world, and most of these problems, and I mean personal problems, these stem from a severe mental block that there is this dualistic divide there is this Cartesian divide, there is kind of dichotomy. Is there really a dichotomy? Is there really a Cartesian divide? Well, it's a matter of opinion. For example, when you say, can money get you peace? The moment you talk about can money get you peace, you are putting money and peace on x-axis and y-axis. And then you're trying to plot a graph. How much money is needed to be happy? Oh, no, not peace, let's say happiness. Money and happiness. You know, X and Y. People get married and then couples start fighting with each other and they say that you are not giving me space. The moment you say you are not giving me space, basically you are talking about husband and wife, they are on x-axis and y-axis. And they are trying to reach a point which will be reachable from x-axis and y-axis. How much of tilting should be towards y-axis? How much of tilting should be towards x-axis? So this is the root of the problem. If you ask me, I mean, as I told you in the beginning, it is unfair, in fact, criminal, philosophically, to put things in a simplistic way. However, even though it's not fair, not proper to put things in a simplistic way, there are occasions when we have to take recourse to simplistic measures where you try to find out some key so that things open up more. So if you ask me what is at the root of all the problems that we are facing today, is the Cartesian divide. Because unknown to us, the concept of Cartesian divide has entered our psyche so deep, that we think that I am at x-axis, everything else is at y-axis. Depending on how I take myself. Now, supposing you think of yourself as body, a mere body, a body that dies after time, which was born at some time. So then you become x-axis and your mind becomes y-axis. Your mind is different from you, x and y. So you need to kind of develop your mind and you need to have more mind power and you need to achieve more mind power. And then a time comes when you start identifying yourself with your mind. Then your body, mind, ego complex, that becomes x-axis and your achievement becomes y-axis. So I am a monk. For me, somewhere, if I follow Cartesian divide, my worldly life as a monk where I'm trying to do service to the society and I am trying to grow, and my spiritual ideals will not be at loggerheads, mind it. Actually, when Karl Marx talked about class conflict, dialectic materialism, we're talking about conflict, clash. There's a famous idea nowadays, clash of civilization. No, I don't really believe in clash. I believe in Cartesian divide. It's not always clash, but Cartesian divide is always there. For example, in India, take the case of caste itself. Caste itself belongs to Cartesian divide. And that's why we did not have clash. We did not have a kind of war that you have between two sects of same religion or between two societies of the same nation. Here in India, we had more of Cartesian divide, one moving in X direction and then moving in Y direction. When we are talking about professional goals and a higher purpose of life, unconsciously, my dear viewers, very unconsciously, we are putting professional goals on the x-axis and higher purpose on y-axis, unknown to us. India never had this problem. Surprisingly, as far as this particular issue is concerned, we never had this problem. How? Because most of you who have some background in Indian traditions would remember that there were 4 purushartha, purpose of life, goal of life: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And the idea was, whatever you do, you are supposed to earn money, which is known as earth, calm, to enjoy life, but on the lines of dharma. That means you must not become licentious. You cannot go on looting others in the name of creating wealth, gaining wealth, nor can you get into licentious acts. And earth and calm. Third is dharma. Dharma was to perform religious acts so that you have a good birth after your death. And final was moksha, mukti, where you go beyond all this. Earth, that is wealth, it was supposed to give you freedom from physical wants. Calm, it was supposed to give you freedom from emotional wants. And dharma, it was supposed to free you from inauspicious births. And mukti, it is meant to give you freedom at all levels. You are free. You are one with God. Now, if you look at the ancient traditions in India, you'll find that everyone, the famous Varnashram Dharma, where we had 4 Varnas and we had 4 ashramas, we had caste system, and we had this male-female issues, we had all these issues, and we had students, we had teachers, and we had kings, and we had warriors. There never was a conflict because the Cartesian divide was not there. Everyone knew that we are moving either towards mukti or towards heavens or towards earth and kama in his or her own way. But since the time that English education spread in India, the Western thoughts entered the Indian psyche deeply. And today, even without our knowing it, the net of Cartesian divide has really spread very wide and extremely deep. And today when we think, the very thought process, now to give you a very simple example, with my due respect to management, Shri Deepak ji and all, and I used to joke with your director, Shri Pawan Singh ji, he was a faculty at IIM Indore. I said that, look, the society sends Brahmins to these IIMs, management institutes. And this is the factory that turns these Brahmins into Vaishyas. Why? Brahmins, they're the seekers of knowledge. When you go to an educational institute, when you go to a school, a college, and a university, an institute, you go there to learn something, which is the typical job of the Brahmins. Anyone entering any educational institute is actually a Brahmin. But what do you teach there? Pay package and perks. Even before you get degree, even before you have got degree, you are always thinking, what will be my package? What will be my perks? What will be my package? There was a time I used to go to IIT Kharagpur to deliver talks. And there once, I found that thousands of students were coming out from a hall. So I asked that, who might be the speaker who got such a huge crowd? So the dean of IIT Kharagpur told me that, Swamiji, it's very sad. There is no speaker. It is a pre-placement counseling. Mind it, pre-placement counseling. And then he added from his side, which really made me sad. He said, during pre-placement counsel, not a single student asked, what will be my responsibilities? What work I will have to do? Everyone was only asking about package and perks. Why it's painful? Those of you might have heard a very popular shlok from Gita, the verse from Gita, Karmanye vadika raste mafleshu kadachana. How do you go to higher purpose in life? You do your duty. You go on doing your duty. Whatever comes your way, you accept as a result. But today, the education system, more or less all over the world, I mean, what I know of, it has become such that There are very few students who say that they are ready to sacrifice everything just for learning's sake. They want only package and perks. Just see how things have changed. So education had a clear purpose. It was supposed to take you higher up. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Unfortunately, whole mindset had changed. And we lost this alignment because we did not have this Cartesian divide. So there's no question of really alignment. It was one. When you were working either to achieve dharma or to achieve artha or to achieve kama or to achieve moksha. So when, supposing there was a cobbler, Swami Vivekananda very famously said, a king is not superior compared to a cobbler simply because he is a king. Place the cobbler in the place of the king and exchange their position and see how they perform. Then only you can judge. As far as these four goals of life are concerned, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, a cobbler is as good as a king. The moment you convert it to package and perks, which includes respect in the society, everything changes. And now we are hopelessly saddled with this problem of Cartesian divide of professional goals and higher purpose. But one has to face the situation. If it rains, it rains. You cannot stop the rain. You have to take an umbrella. Here today I am just to give you certain very fundamental ideas, some very basic rudimentary ideas on how to align these two things. Because whether we want it or not, whether it be India, be it Harvard School of Management or IIM Ahmedabad, I know I have quite a good number of friends who are here at IIMs. Somehow things have become like that. Yes, somebody has raised hand, Shivam Sharma. It's nice. Anyway, at least I have introduced my subject and I'm about to enter the main thing. Yes, Shivam Sharma ji, if you are willing to talk.
So,
Someone raised hand.
Sir. Good afternoon, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, Shivam Sharma.
Yes, so my question to you is, you have just now said that people in IIMs, they seek package. But again, you have said that the four purusharthas which are there, one of them is dhan. So isn't that when you're seeking package?
I will explain what's the difference between money, that is package, and earth. There's a fundamental difference. There's a fundamental difference that we will explain. Because see, the ultimate goal in Indian tradition was mukti. Something we will be discussing, that we are supposed to go for freedom. But when your selfishness comes, when you want things only for your enjoyment, you get into enjoyment because you need to get out of it. When you go to visit a place, anywhere, suppose you go to Haridwar, you have some curiosity. What's Haridwar like? You want to see the Himalayas, you want to see the ocean. And you say, okay, fine, my curiosity is over. Now I go ahead with my way of life. Is that really happening today because of the packages and perks? No, it's not. You say, I want more and I want more and I want more. But last 10,000 years, at least that I know of in India, they also enjoyed life. Our kings enjoyed life, and the rich people enjoyed life, and poor people had their own share of enjoyment in their own way. But the idea was that this is kind of a digression. I am not supposed to dive deep into it. This is not my way of life. So we will have more of it. It's a fundamental difference between getting out of yourself and becoming self-centered. However, let me talk. So we are yet to get into it. Thank you, Shivam. Anything else?
So that would be it. Thank you so much.
Okay. So most important thing when we talk about this aligning this professional growth and purpose of life, most important thing is there's a difference between life and philosophy of life. A very important thing for us is life. Another important thing is philosophy of life. Those of you who are really interested in knowing about these things, I was contacted by, I think, Rajat ji about my introduction. And I introduced myself only as a monk of the Ramakrishna Mutt and Ramakrishna Mission. I am also an author, and I write under the pen name Samarpan. I will find quite a few books in my name. And one of the books that might interest you people is Carving a Sky, which I wrote after taking classes at IIM Indore. And it's a very good book. And there it's all about life management based on the talks that I gave at IIM Indore. And of course, there are lots of additions. One very serious problem that we are facing today is that we don't like to go deep into thinking. And because we don't go deep into thinking, we confuse between life and philosophy of life. To give you a very simple example, there was great Socrates, and charge against Socrates during his time in Athens was that he's misguiding the youth of Athens. So actually, the elders of Athens, they were sick of Socrates, but they did not really want him dead. They did not want to kill him. So to kind of threaten him, they said that he be poisoned to death. And they expected that he will kind of apologize and leave Athens. And Socrates was neither willing to apologize nor he was going to leave Athens. So then the day when he was supposed to drink hemlock, that is poison, Plato, who was a very influential person, he made arrangements, bribed the guards so that Socrates can be taken away from there. Socrates refused. He said, do you think that I will go against the values that I have preached all my life? Amazing. Socrates gave up his life. He did not compromise with philosophy of life. What is philosophy of life? He stands, when you say Socrates, when you think of Socrates, those of you who know, he stands for teaching about truth, beauty, values. Forget Socrates, come down to our own level, our own time, our own land. Gandhiji. Whenever you think of Gandhiji, what exactly comes to your mind? Satyagraha. Whenever you think of Gandhiji, you think of standing for truth. You think of standing for ahimsa. So when Gandhiji was leading Satyagraha, there were cases when there was a lathi charge by the police, and he believed so much in non-violence that he never even raised his hands. It's unthinkable. Dear listeners, I can tell you, believe me, I will gladly agree to drink poison like Socrates, because that will be the end of me. But getting beaten up by the police and not raising my hands is something that's beyond me. No, I cannot. Not yet. Maybe Gandhiji was, Gandhiji had that passive strength where he could take a beating. No, I cannot take. No. Jawaharlal Nehru, he could not. And there are many instances where Nehruji kind of scolded the policemen who came. But Gandhiji, nothing. Just. And when he was shot dead, his inner essence came out. He said, "Hey Ram," and dropped dead. When you say that my philosophy of life is more important to me than life, you will find that most people in this world today, they value life more than philosophy of life. Now, life is actually important because whatever you want to gain, you can gain only through life. You want wealth, you can get through life. If you want mukti, you can gain only through life. Worse, if you want suicide, even that comes with the help of life only. Life is really important. But philosophy of life is greater than life. If you really want to align these professional goals and higher purpose, first thing is you must know what is your ideal. What do you represent in life? As I just mentioned, when you talk of Gandhiji, you think of Satya Ahimsa, truth, non-violence. So, those of you who are from Hindi belt, you would know there's a very popular saying in Hindi belt. It says, Gandhigiri mat chalao. Yahan Gandhigiri mat chalao. Which means truthfulness, non-violence. That means the name Gandhi, which was a noun, has now become an adjective. We need to struggle very hard, so that our name becomes an adjective. There was a time when Rockefeller used to be one of the richest persons in the world. Now, when you say Bill Gates, although there are many, Elon Musk is there and there are others, but Bill Gates, there was a time when Bill Gates became synonymous with wealth. Now, you'll find that people who became really immortal in history, really immortal, they had a philosophy of life. There were some, you will definitely find some who focused a lot on life. But the real great ones who really contributed to the society and who are revered are those who had a philosophy of life and who considered philosophy of life greater than life itself. Now, how do you go to philosophy of life? Now, first, most important aspect of philosophy of life is, nowadays, a very popular expression is YOLO, Y-O-L-O, you only live once. Youngsters, they talk about this thing. They will say that, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. And they'll say, you only live once. YOLO. Sometimes you may think that the younger generation has come up with something really intelligent, but no, it's not that. We have this problem since time immemorial, where this idea of YOLO, you only live once, was always there. For example, we had the philosophers known as Charvak in India, who very famously used to say, Yavat jive sukham jive. Till you live, enjoy life. Because once you are dead, you never come back. Then we have these stories of the gods and the asuras. Asuras are not really demons, because demons is something that comes from the Western world. Our word here is asura. Asura is those who focus too much on their inner strength, their strength, the strength of muscles, strength of organs, strength of mind. The gods are those who have those things, but they also focus on spiritual strength. So there's a wonderful story where once the king of the gods and king of Asuras, both of them went to Prajapati, Lord of creation, and wanted to know, what is Atman? Who am I? Who truly am I? In very simple terms, the Lord said, you are that. You are that. So the Asuras, they became very happy. They have found the secret of who am I? Who am I? I'm this body. And they said, let's enjoy life. And The Asuras continue to enjoy life even today. Shankaracharya, the famous commentator on ancient Indian texts, has very famously explained Asuras, it's a combination of two words in Sanskrit, which means those who focus a lot on the strength of their muscles, their prana. Actually, prana is vital energies within. As opposed to them, we have Sura, Devatas. They focus more on spiritual strength. When it comes to higher purpose comes only when you very well know that this is not going to be the end of your life. I'm basically telling these things from that book, Carving a Sky, because I decided that let me use the language of the managers. When Swami Vivekananda had gone to the West, there's a very famous conversation he had with an agnostic philosopher known as Robert Ingersoll. And Ingersoll used to give talks proving that there is no God, there is no afterlife, and these are all imaginations of a sick mind. Swami Vivekananda met him. Ingersoll took up an orange and said, "See, I am sure of this fruit and of nothing else. I should enjoy this fruit," and there it ends. And Swami Vivekananda very famously told him that, look, being an Oriental, choice of my fruit is not orange but a mango. I also want to enjoy it. And I know that I am not going to die with this death. That is, I have all the time. So I will never hurry. I'm not in hurry. It's a very interesting thing, because when I read this incident, I loved it because it has many implications. First thing is, the moment you become a follower of YOLO, you only live once. Now, why would you need philosophy to know something which is very obvious? Everyone knows babies are born. When they grow old, they die. And no one has ever returned. There's something we know. Why do you need philosophy? Why do you need religion? Because these are the greats who teach you things which are beyond the ken, beyond the observatory power of a common man. And why should we doubt them? Why should we doubt a person like, say, Jesus Christ? Why should we doubt a person like Gautam Buddha, who had no self-interest? Absolutely, they had no self-interest. They gave up everything. Jesus gave up his life for spiritual truth. And Lord Buddha, he gave up his kingdom for spiritual truth. And here comes a person who is completely body-centric, who is full of ego. He is not even learned. And we say that you are my leader and I want to follow you. This is insane. It's completely insane. But worse, when you say you only live once, first compromise that you have is the compromise with your dignity. You are always in a hurry. You are always demanding for more and more. You are always running after more perks and more package. You lose your dignity. But when you know that, no, life continues. You will continue even after death. I mean, this is a huge subject. I cannot sum it up in just in 2-3 sentences. The idea is that you need to have very clear understanding that life does not end here. I was principal at Ramakrishna Mission Vidyapit, Devghar, Jharkhand. It is one of the top 5 CBSE schools in the country. And I used to tell our students that, look, once you pass your board exams, that's not an end. It's just a beginning. It's the beginning to the next door, next way of life. Try to understand this, that death is not the end of everything. And this is what every great master has said. Had it been only anyone, had it been, say, only Lord Krishna, Sri Krishna, then you could have questioned. You find that the whole of Jewish philosophy centers around going back to the heaven. Entire Christian world talks about going to the heaven. Entire Islamic population talks about going to the hell. Who was going to the heaven? Why go to the heaven? Who goes to the heaven? You. And who is that you? someone who continues after death. So why should I be believing, say, a materialistic philosopher who has no standing, who is not learned, who is not established in unselfishness, compared to these greats? Well, once you realize that death is not the end of everything, one simple thing, perspective on life changes radically. You are nobody in a hurry. The Cartesian divide between life and death, the Cartesian divide between you and God, these things start vanishing. And once these things start vanishing, you start looking at life from a different perspective. Things calm down. So what exactly we are supposed to do? Even if I know, supposing that, okay, fine, death is not the end, or even if it is YOLO, growth. Always keep in mind, my dear viewers, dear faculty members, dear students, don't go for pay and package. Go for growth. Go all out for growth. Make it, write it down. Write it on your walls, write on your writing table, right everywhere. Goal of life is growth, finished. To give you a very crude example, which I use very often, say when you were in class 6, class 7, class 8, you studied science, and marks was so important to you in those days, really very important, and you wanted to get a little extra marks so that you could become the topper, or so you could get 80% marks. Today, you don't even remember the marks that you got in those exams, but you very well remember what H2O stands for, what CO2 stands for, because every time you work, any work, for example, right now I'm talking to you and you people are listening to me, there is an external result. My talks are going to you, you may be benefited, but there is also an inner impact. It is transforming my personality, because my knowledge base is growing, my experience is growing, and ultimately this is what will continue with me. You will forget me. You may forget me after some months, some years, maybe some weeks. You may even forget everything that I discussed with you. But my own growth through this talk, like if you ask me, Swamiji, how do you gain when you talk? Well, I gain in experience, I gain in maturity, because I'm thinking on these things. I am not just sitting and delivering something out of my mind. No. These things are very well known to me, and I worked hours organizing my talk. So actually it is shaping my mind, and not that I'm going to gain anything out from it. It's not for money, it's not for fame that I am talking. Now, whenever I work so that I have inner growth. Whenever you work, right now when you are at this prestigious institute, IIM Trichy, getting just a certificate is not important for you. Getting a very good job, no, it's important, but not the ultimate thing. The important thing is to gain knowledge, because if you have good marks, you get credit, you get promoted to the next class, and there it ends. But if you have knowledge, it lasts all your life. It lasts all your life. So whatever you do, in whatever position you are, keep in mind, wait for a moment and think, this is the external result of the action that I am getting. But how exactly it is affecting my inner being? Make judgment based strictly on that. Money is needed. Money is very, very, very important. But now supposing you get money by wrong means. Money you will have. But if you adopt wrong means, if you take recourse to wrong things, it leaves a deep impression, deep scar within your psyche. And ultimately it's going to hurt you. And this is where spirituality comes to play. And they say that don't do wrong things. It actually leaves. Just remember the example of marks and knowledge. You can get marks by cheating. You can get marks by persuading your teacher. But knowledge is something that you have to gain by yourself. Growth comes through knowledge, not through marks. Your growth comes by the inner molding of your character, not by how much wealth you have and how many houses you have, etc., etc. So this is something very important. And for that, you need to have integrity and focus. Integrity and focus. Because see, righteousness, what is righteous? Righteous is something that under normal conditions, I'm not talking about ethical dilemma, conflict situation, I'm talking about normal situation where everyone says this is right and you also feel this is right. Now, if others say this is right and you feel this is wrong, this is a case of ethical dilemma. Right now, we are not going into ethical dilemma. If you really have ethical dilemma, and if you go by our scriptures, they say that always follow your conscience. And the conscience, not the conscience of a kid, but the conscience of a mature person whose inner being has been purified by staying with the masters, by learning from the master. Always follow your pure conscience. By purity, I always mean unselfishness. Is there any self-interest involved? Are you being selfish? No, go ahead. You can take on the whole world. Nothing can stop you. You will see that in life, it's quite easy to be honest, but quite difficult to have integrity. I have some IS friends, and one of my friends was once telling that Swamiji, we have many honest IS officers, but officers with integrity who can stand up to the political masters are not many. You may be honest, but you may not have integrity. If you really want to align these two things, somewhere you will have to be honest. And from there, you must have integrity. I'll give you a very simple example. I think many of you might be knowing this story that there was this great teacher, Dronacharya, in the Mahabharata times. And he had a quarrel with his childhood friend, who was King Drupad. So Drupad performed some yajna and his son was born who was to kill Dronacharya. Now Drupad wanted a teacher for his son and he was sent to Dronacharya. So Dronacharya's friend said, "Come, look, this boy is born to kill you. Why do you want to teach him? Then ultimately he will kill you." Dronacharya very famously said, "Look, if this boy is born to kill me, he will kill me nevertheless. Why should I give up my integrity? Because being a teacher, it is my job to teach the students, the princes. Why should I lose my integrity? It's such a wonderful thing. Why should I lose my integrity for such a paltry thing as life? Even otherwise I will get killed." It's a very important thing to have first honesty. Honesty means what people consider to be right. Integrity is at a higher level. You have taken away value. You have taken away philosophy of life, and now you continue thoroughly aligned with it. And another thing that I would like to tell you, just to align, I'm giving you some practical suggestions. I'm not really an orator. I'm more of a teacher. It's about respect. One first thing was philosophy of life is very important. Philosophy of life is really very important. And from there, the second very important thing that you need to keep growth. Just see how you are growing internally, and integrity. But most importantly, respect. Respect. Respect everything. Respect yourself. Never despise yourself. Respect others. Never despise others. Respect time. Don't waste your time. Respect money. Don't waste your money. Respect the job you have. Don't be in a hurry to give up the job. Respect a relationship. If you are married, don't be in a hurry to get a divorce. If you love somebody, if you are committed to someone, respect that relationship. When you are, say, at IIM Trichy, respect the institution, respect the teachers. Now, this idea of respect, Shraddha, this has been the genetic build of Indian culture, Indian civilization. It's not about slavery. It's not about obedience. This sense of respect towards everything, towards the smaller things of life, towards the greater things of life. This comes only when you have tremendous strength. If you don't have strength, you tend to become a slave. Respect is when you have mastery. Say, my personal experience once, I am well connected with Bihar. And once I had been to Patna. It was after many years. And one of my friends who became later Director General of Police of Bihar, and I was in his car alone. I asked the driver, tell me what exactly is the problem of Bihar? It was long ago. I mean, it was 98, 99, something like that. And he said that, look, the problem of Bihar is that they don't know how to respect others. And that was one of those eureka moments for me. See, if you don't respect others, why don't you respect others? Because you don't respect yourself. Because you don't respect yourself, that's why you cannot grow. And that's why everything goes ruin. Your education system goes bad. Your economy goes wrong. Your everything goes wrong. Law and order goes wrong. And that is when it clicked me that, look, this driver, who is not really a graduate from a prestigious university or a college, he knows the fundamental truth about life. So, well, these are some of the fundamental points that I wanted to discuss. I think, oh my God, it's already 4:35. You don't have much time left. Looks like I have kept you well entertained. Nay, not many hands have been raised other than Shivam Sharma's. So I'll just take a break and I'll ask you in case you want to say something or you want to ask question. And then otherwise, I'll tell you something very simple because time is nearly up. We don't have much time. And we wanted to have a free discussion. And if need be, I can continue for another 10-15 minutes, no problem. Sir, boliye Rajat Agrawal ji.
Yes, sir. Students, if you have questions to ask.
No, for discussions and questions and
Correct,
just one request to our dear listeners that, look, just don't ask questions for the heck of asking, because whatever I've told you, these are a bit deep. These require a bit of deeper thinking. And if you really have doubts, because very often we ask questions, not because we have questions, but because we like to hear our own voice. So Shivam has already asked me one question. I'll let Rahul may ask. Rahul?
Good evening, sir. Thank you for a wonderful session. So
Your
my
R
question,
stands for what?
R, it's only R, sir. It's not, there is no
Rahul
full
R.
name. Yes.
Are you by any chance from Bihar?
No, sir.
You
I'm
are
from
from
Bangalore.
Bangalore.
Bangalore. Yes.
Okay, okay. So ours must be one of those family names. Yes, Rahul.
Yes, sir. So my question is actually in regards to finance, like money, like in terms like we are consider when we have money, we tend to invest it in some of us invest it in stock markets and other such similar commodities. So my question is, what do we do when we make a bad choice in that? Like when we make a huge investment in something and we lose the money in that. So how should we try
This is
to?
business. Business, you will always
Yeah.
lose money.
No,
Business, see,
sir,
if
but
you are trying to, Rahul,
yes,
look,
sir.
basically when you go for stocks, you won't believe 3 of my friends, close friends, had to commit suicide because of their bad investment in share market. And I am wary of share market because ultimately it's gambling, nothing else. And it's a zero-sum game where there is no productivity involved. From my side, I am telling. But as far as companies are concerned, they need to raise money from the market and all. And if you are gaining from your stocks, that's a different thing. But as far as share market is concerned, this is pure sector market. And as for business, it's nothing new. People do lose business in money. This is part of life. However, I can tell you one very popular saying that we have known since our childhood. Never keep your eggs in the same basket. I always follow it. See, I'm a monk. I don't have any money. I don't have any connections, nothing. However, as they say, hedging in your language, it's not my language. I have heard from my good friends who were earlier my students. Whenever I meet them, I love to listen to them. Hedging. Don't keep all your eggs in the same basket. If you keep, you will die. See, most of these Ponzi scam, people lose money. Why? Because see, if I were in their place, I would rather control my greed and keep only a part, so that if you chance to read my book, Carving a Sky, there I have created a nice model, at least it appeared nice to me, where it says, when you are making a judgment, supposing you have to decide what to do, see what is the worst that can happen in that and what is the best that can happen. Then you decide, are you ready for this worst? And do you really want this best? For example, I'm a monk. Supposing I want to do something which is worldly, whatever that might be, what is the worst that can happen? I can lose all my honor, all my respect. And what's the maximum I can gain? A little sense enjoyment. So is this risk worth taking? No, it is not. You have to just compare. So for example, Rahul, you put all your money in certain investment. What if it goes bust? You lose all your money. How much you gain? Maybe 20% interest. Now, if you put that money in the bank, how much you are going to lose? Nothing. How much you gain? 6%, 7%. It's always better to keep money in the bank. It's such a simple thing. And it appears so ridiculous that management students want to learn these things from a monk. But then,
No.
but then that is what I will do. If I were in your position, I'll never put all my eggs in the same basket. Never. And I will always go for this. What worst can happen, what is the best that can happen, and scale it and then decide. Yes, Shivam, looks like other students probably have left. Shivam, your hand is still raised. Are you still interested in asking question?
Yes, sir. If we have time, if it's okay.
I have enough time. For me, there's a very famous saying. Swami Vivekananda was told by one, Swami, you don't have any sense of time. And Swami had beautifully answered, Madam, you live in time. We live in eternity. I live in eternity. I am absolutely never in a hurry. Whenever I have to take a plane, I reach at least 2 hours in advance. I mean, after security check. And when I have to go take a train, where reserved compartment or Howrah station from here, at least 1 hour before the schedule, rake coming, not the train leaving. That means add half an hour to that. 1.5 hours minimum. I stand on the platform, I move around, I see. I never hurry. And my biggest enemy in life is my hurry. Biggest. If I have to hurry, I drop the idea. And I respect time, as I said. And in my life, I've never missed a train. In my life, I've never missed a flight. Interestingly, my train never goes late. My flight never goes late. In case there is, even during natural calamities, etc., I've seen my train crosses. And there have been occasions when I have reached railway station half an hour, 45 minutes late. I found that my train was waiting for me. That includes Rajdhani Express at New Delhi station. It so happened that there was some situation which was not under my control. I reached more than 45 minutes late, knowing very well the train must have left. I found the train was still waiting for me. I know it's because I respect time. Because I don't live in time. So, Shivam Sharma ji, boliye.
Sir, my question is, let me give you two scenarios. First is getting live interaction from a professor. Let us say a student joins an institute, let us say an IIM, and he gets to learn from faculty. Now there's another student who because of some reason is not able to join an IIM. But the same faculty, they have written books, and he reads those books and tries to learn. Which, according to you, is the right method of learning?
No, you cannot say, because it all depends here on the mind, head. If one who is reading the books and is really talented, he can get it from there. Now, for example, I myself, I'm a very poor learner. If I have to read from books, I don't get ideas. But allow me interactions and then I become master. So, and yet I know of people who are so good that just by reading books, they understand. For example, I cannot get any understanding, any idea of geography because math cannot enter my head. But let me enter an area, and after that I can create anything you wish. And so in any case, live interaction is always better, because when a teacher talks to the class, he doesn't only inform his students, he also physically shares part of his personality with the students. Because every teacher has a personality with him. And in the physical presence of the class, he shares the power of his personality. And you can ask your teachers, they will say that when they take a live class, I mean, physical presence, they feel more drained than during cyber classes. In cyber classes, there is no physical presence. So their psychic energy, the psychic energy that is within them, that doesn't get lost. So anytime physical interaction is better. Yeah, we have now two more hands. Yes, who are they? I can't see their names.
Sir, we have no one with their hands up. I think Pranali, you have. So Pranali, has a question.
Dahiwale.
Pranali, you can go ahead and ask your question now.
Where are you from, Dahiwale? Pranali?
Maharashtra, sir.
Okay, Maharashtra where? Maharashtra is a U state.
Nagpur.
Nagpur, proper Nagpur.
Actually, I'm from Gadchiroli, but yeah, I tell Nagpur. A lot of people don't know about Gadchiroli.
You are originally from Mussoorie?
No, sir, Gadchiroli.
Oh, Gadchiroli. Acha. I've been to Nagpur quite a few times. In fact, we have a very famous center at Nagpur. I've been there and spoken there. Yes, Pranali.
Sir, you spoke a lot about of deep concept of Advaita Vedanta.
No, I did not. I did not get into Advaita Vedanta. No. Advaita Vedanta is not meant for you. I haven't discussed Advaita Vedanta for you. It's not meant for students. Advaita Vedanta is a very, very, very difficult thing. No, I'm not one of those popular speakers, and I'm not a pop speaker. No, not at all. Sorry, not even bring Advaita Vedanta here. Advaita Vedanta is meant for chosen few people who are extremely spiritually advanced. It is not meant for masses. No, no. So Pranali, now let go of Advaita Vedanta and then tell me.
Okay, sir. So all the things you said, sir, what are the small set of actions we can take on daily basis that we can actually stay true to the purpose and achieve or get closer to the higher
I
goals?
never said true to the purpose. I said
Yeah,
growth,
okay, fine.
your inner growth. I don't use those big words like purpose and I say grow. Decide, I have to grow. You are important in this life. Yes, yes, Pranali.
So what are the small set of actions we can take to?
I told you first, or I can just say one simple thing: respect. Respect everything that you do. So when you talk to somebody, have respect for that person. When you're studying, have respect for the studies. When you're into a job, have respect for the job. When you earn money, have respect for wealth. When you're in a relation, have respect for the relation. You can start with that. I have one very good talk once I had given at Indore Management Association, IMA Indore. It is on YouTube. If you open Swami Samarpanananda YouTube, you will find roughly 1100 videos are there. But they're in Bengali, Hindi, and English, and they are mostly on scriptures, and they might bore you. Those of you who are spiritually inclined can listen to those talks. There is one talk at IIM Indore. There I have talked something about things that can be practiced in daily life. If you are interested, you can read my book, Carving a Sky. Carving a Sky, and it's a very good book written for the managers. My pen name is Samarpan. I will find quite a few books.
Sir,
Yes.
we have Vijaya ma'am. She has a question to ask from you.
Who?
Vijaya ma'am.
Vijaya V. You are a student?
No, sir, she's a professor at.
Oh my God, she looks so young. Yes, yes, Vijaya V.
Ma'am, you're on mute,
Not able
ma'am.
to hear. Your mic is mute probably.
Thank you. It was a compliment. Anyway, namaste. See, when we teach our students, right, today, like what you were talking about, this duality, there's something like for personal life, and there's something like professional life, right? And I think all of us, whether it's the young students here or us, there's a question of balancing how much for what. And it goes parallel. It is not like I finish my work and then I get into my home. So it goes parallel. And there are, we also face a very uncertain world. There are many things that are unpredictable. So many challenges come up. Of course, the time given to us per day is a constant. Like we seem to have very less time to do many things that we want to do. So, I mean, naturally, I think to a great extent, many of us get, we don't know how to handle this. So, how do you kind of
Vijaya V, madam, I don't agree with you. I just don't agree with you. And I'll appreciate if you listen to this talk once again, because I found that recording is being made.
Okay.
You need to think over it. Now, me, a monk, I'm not just an ordinary monk, I'm a monk of the Ramakrishna Mission. And being a monk of the Ramakrishna Mission, we have to do a lot of work. And I don't gain anything out of this work. As far as this physical world is concerned, wherever I am, in whatever center I am, I just get my food, my stay, my clothing, nothing else. We cannot have a bank account. We cannot have any money. In no possible, neither Ramakrishna Mission pays for it, and nor we are allowed to get anything from outside. Okay. Now, there have been occasions in our life when we thought of that, am I kind of wasting my life serving this society? Because when we are in school, we are in college, we are in this work, my time is going, and I need time for my personal happiness. But our senior monks, the elders, our teachers, they continuously taught us this thing, that there's nothing called personal. There's nothing called professional. Think of Sri Krishna in the battlefield. Sri Krishna taught the message of Gita, ultimate calmness during war. Now, when you're talking about personal work and professional work, if you drop the adjectives, what remains is work. The moment you are dividing personal and professional, there is something wrong with your attitude. I'll always see it as work. And if I feel that I cannot handle it, I'll give it up. Once, I was asked, somebody asked me, one of those institutes, how to balance it, etc. I told that, look, once you join a corporate world, you'll be getting something like 10 lakh per annum, 20 lakh per annum, 30 lakhs per annum. The company pays you such a huge salary, not for being an incompetent and stupid person. It pays you because you can handle this perfectly. If you cannot, then you don't deserve that salary. See, India today has so many problems, right? China, Pakistan, this, that. Now, if our Honorable Prime Minister says, oh, I am so bogged down, you don't deserve to be Prime Minister then. India has chosen you as the Prime Minister simply because we know that you can handle it. If you cannot, then give up one. I'll tell you a very interesting story that should make the idea clear. I was principal at Ramakrishna Mission Vidyapit Devgarh, which is in Jharkhand. As the luck would have, the superintendent of police, SP, he was friend from my college days at the time. And Devgarh Vidyapit being a very famous school, we used to have a lot of pressure from Chief Minister. It was a unified Bihar in those days. So once the SP, Mr. SP, he came to me and I refused point blank. I said, no, we are not going to do, because we are not a government school, we are not under pressure. So then SP said that, look, you don't understand my compulsion. And district magistrate, DM and SP both had come because pressure was from the chief minister. He said, you don't understand the pressure that we have to face. So I laughingly had told him, Mr. SP sir, when I go to the town, that is Devgarh town, it's a small town in those days, I generally walk or take a rickshaw. And suddenly your car comes with yellow beacon. In those days, police used to have yellow beacon. And then I step aside to let your car go through. My rickshaw takes side so that your car goes through. You don't even recognize me. Naturally, you are not supposed to. When the government gives you this privilege and this salary and this yellow beacon, itna to aapko sahna padega, sahab ji. And he laughed. He just, good friend, he laughed. He realized it. It's a package deal, madam. You get such huge salary because IIMT feels that you can handle it. If you cannot, then you don't deserve that salary. Then give it up. It's such a simple thing. If I say I'm a monk, but I cannot live without the band enjoyments, no. You cannot have the respect and privileges of a monk and enjoy like a worldly person. No, it's a package deal. It's either this or that. If you cannot, then get out. If society pays you for this, it expects you to not to have that Cartesian divide, but see the entire thing as work. Your home is work, your office is work, and you need to adjust everything within those 24 hours. I am not sure, Vijaya madam, if I disappointed you, but remember that incident of me and my SP friend, whom I told that, look, हाँ, मुझे आपके लिए रास्ता छोड़ना पड़ता है साहब जी, तो इतना तो आपको लेना पड़ेगा नहीं? Thank you, Vijay madam. So we have now Subramanian, someone. Yes, Subramanian sir.
Yes, so like my question, I don't think it is necessarily in line with the lecture you just gave, but like as a spiritually inclined person, I have a passing knowledge in various scriptures, but since I don't have a profound knowledge, I think it has left me with a lot of confusion rather than any clarity.
You can listen to my talks.
I just want to ask you.
You can listen to my talks on YouTube on Hinduism series. I have a series of talks on Hinduism. There are 40 talks, just Hinduism. Listen, and your ideas will become clear. And if you want only spirituality, right now we are having a series of talks on Mandukya Karika, Mandukya Upanishad and Karika. You listen to that, ideas will become much more clear.
Sure.
There are English talks, quite a few English talks, mine. I think more than 300 talks. And you can listen to them. If you just type Swami Samarpanananda in YouTube, you'll find them.
Sure. Then I'll listen to that, and maybe if I still have doubts, can I get back to you somehow with that?
Yes, my Rajat Agrawal ji sir, you can send your students and faculty members my email ID, which I have given you. They can contact me, swami.samarpanananda@gmail.com, and you just mention that you were a listener at IMT. And I'm on Facebook. I am also on LinkedIn. So no problem. You are most welcome. Oh, 3 more participants.
Thanks for that.
Yes.
If it's okay with you, can we take one last question?
Yes, I'm free. I'm free, Praveen Singh ji. No, Praveen Singh to raised hand. And Rajat Agrawal ji. Yes. No problem.
Vijay ma'am, do you have another question? We'll take your question first.
Vijay, we just had a discussion.
Ma'am, you're on mute.
No, I have got my answers.
Okay. Your hand is still raised, I think.
Yeah.
Praveen, you can go ahead and ask the question.
Praveen, your mic is. Boliye.
Yes, sir. My question is like creating a balance between, like you said about the Cartesian system. No? We have
Cartesian divide.
Cartesian divide. We need to understand the difference between how much we can work and how much we can rest. So we have the concept of day and night.
It is entirely personal. Praveen, there is no fixed rule for that. For example, me. By now I have written 8 books, and they're all from international publishers. And 1100 videos make a large corpus. I take 20 hours of classes a week at my university. I'm 62 years old, pretty old. I have to sleep for 8 to 9 hours. Otherwise, I can't be creative, because my work are extremely creative and very deep. And I also know people who can manage just with 5 hours of rest. I cannot. My vitality is, this inner vitality is pretty poor. So there is no fixed rule for that, Praveen Singh ji.
Yes, sir. But the core question is somewhat related to that, which Vijay ma'am has asked. So in order to have a balanced life, we need to have some differentiation among the works.
No, Praveen Singh, there is nothing called balanced life. Life is always in balance. Life is never out of balance. You want to do certain things, you need to do certain things. They are all same. Because when you say that for example, Vijaya V, when she said professional life and personal life is personal need. She needs to do, and personal life is she loves to do. Is there any difference? Because she would not have continued to be a teacher if she did not like it. She would have given up this job. And she would not have performed work at home if she did not feel a need for it. So whenever we do something, It is the artificial superimposition where we say, I love this, I need to do this. No, they're actually all same. Always see these things as work. See everything as work. What you need to do, that is also part of what you love, because ultimately you will get something out of it. And because you get something out of it, that will fulfill the love that you have. So ultimately, love and need, they are all connected. There is no difference. Actually, there is no Cartesian divide. This is what I was trying to tell Praveen ji, that there is actually no Cartesian divide. It's the wrong notion that we have, that there is a Cartesian divide. And you need to think. I mean, I try to say things in very simple words, but probably they're not really that simple. You are saying that there is a Cartesian divide between rest and work, between need and love. No, there is no. And that is what Karma Yoga stands for. Those of you who are interested can read Swami Vivekananda's famous work, Karma Yoga. It's a very small book, and you might even get a PDF version. Very famous work, Swami Vivekananda's Karma Yoga. Or you can read Gita, 3rd chapter, 4th chapter. There is no distinction between personal life and professional life, need to do and love to do. No, there is no. These are all born of misconception. As I said, the idea of duality, the idea of dichotomy. Once you can get rid of this idea of duality from the brain, from your mind, life will become very smooth for you. And that's what we do. Life has become very smooth for us because I don't have any duality. See, right now, today is Ashtami, Durga Ashtami. And Bengal and Belur Math is a hub of Durga Puja. We had a lot of many ceremonies in the morning, including Kumari Puja. And right now we will have Arati of Sri Ramakrishna Thakur. Then we have special Arati of Mother Durga. And then we have Sandhi Puja. And see, in between I am talking to, it's all same to me. Whether it's Sandhi Puja of Durga or it's Kumari Puja of Durga, and talking to you is not different. I am not considering that to be more sacred and this less sacred. No, to me, this is also puja, and it makes no difference to me. Sorry, no, absolutely no. And I'll shut off this class. I have some purchases to make, some sleep or something. And from there, I'll move on to Sandhi Puja. It's all same to me. Nothing, it makes no difference to me. And to all our elder monks, senior monks, it makes no difference. So, yes, I think we have crossed the time limit, but that's not an issue with me. If it's an issue with you, I mean, if you have any question, you can definitely ask.
Swami sir, I think that's all the question we have for now.
Yes, we don't have. I am glad. How many are right now on this session?
So we have 119 participants right now.
Right now, 119, and no question. I must have spoken real well. No controversial comments, I'm sure. Otherwise, they would have. Students love to tear you apart when you say something which is not acceptable to them. So how did you like all of you? We have faculty members and we have management and we have students. Can you write comments? Let me see. No need to raise hands. Deepak ji and Rajat ji and all. Tell me.
Professor Alok, if you would like to go ahead. We have Professor Vijaya, a couple of other people.
It was a wonderful talk, Swamiji.
Oh, grateful.
Yeah.
But what about the students? Are they happy? I mean, any comment? We don't have any comment coming message.
Participants, you can post a comment in the chat box if you have.
I mean, if you are satisfied with the talk, so I can repeat this kind of talk next time I'm invited somewhere. We monks have very few things to say. Oh, very good session from Anushka. Wonderful. Oh, wonderful. Sir, innocent. Sir, it was really engaging. Thank you, Divija Kumar. Wow, we get some. So you can write mail to me whenever you want. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on YouTube. So Bah. Oh, finally, we have some. Thank you, dear students, and thank you, listeners. And my privilege. And sirs, please convey my thanks and regards to Pawan Kumar Singh ji, director of.
Swamiji, sure. Yes.
And tell that I stood up to your expectation, I hope. Kya, sir? Did I? Good.
Yeah, absolutely, sir.
Thank you, sir. So, do we end the session?
Thank you so much for taking time out on Wednesday evening, and it's day before the festivities begins. So it was an enlightening session, and we got a lot to learn about life teaching and a lot of analogies you used during the session. It was like, I'm pretty sure everyone's gonna take something from it and apply in their daily lives. And IIM Trichy family wish you a very happy weekend ahead and happy Dussehra, sir.
Thank you, sirs. Thank you.
Thank you.